Well, what other Week 1 upsets would be, or what Week 1 games would be considered an upset besides Oklahoma State and Jacksonville State?
Well, I can't wait for that, though.
I can't either.
I can't see West Virginia doing anything. I can't see Arkansas doing anything.
My gut's telling me, and I'm hoping it's lunch saying that instead of my actual instinct, but I got a feeling about Clemson upsetting Georgia.
I was thinking about that too, but
But
Cliff Stout's, is it his son or nephew or
His
somebody
son.
that's going to be the starting quarterback for Clemson?
Stout, the boy that played at Birmingham
Birmingham
Stallions.
exactly, that's his son.
Wow.
Yes. I got to meet him when I was a kid. I was a huge fan of the Stallions.
I was too. I
was too, yes.
I was at their last football game when they lost to the Baltimore Stars in the playoffs at Legion
Well,
Field.
who was the wasn't it Cribbs that played
For Auburn?
Cribbs,
Yeah,
for-
he
yeah.
played for the Stallions for a little
Yeah.
while, and then went on to a great career with several different teams: Buffalo, San Francisco.
Really, all Clemson's having replaced is Taj Boyd and Sammy Watkins on that offense. So
Well, I'm gonna tell you right now, just because of the way Mark Rick is, that they always lose one ball game that
Yeah.
kills them. I'm gonna go with Clemson. I think that'll be a good. I think Clemson will beat them.
everybody's got, or not us, but if you want to come and hear, the right stuff, you need to come listen to our show. But you can listen to all these other analysis all you want to. But they're picking Georgia to win it all because they got the best running backs in the country. I'm sitting here thinking they got Gurley.
Well, I mean,
But
good grief.
now this
Yeah,
is
but
gonna be, this
sometimes-
is tough for me to say. But Alabama's got T.J. Yeldon, Kenyon Drake, and is it
Derrick
Derrick
Henry?
Henry? That's
Auburn's got 4 that I can name.
Yeah,
right
Auburn's
now.
running backs.
Auburn's got them too.
Artis,
But who do they have at Georgia besides Gurley? I can't even think. Is it Marshall? The kid's name's Marshall.
I
I can't
think
think of
so.
his last name. He got hurt last year, towards ACL or something, missed the whole season. But
And I think
Georgia's
he's
got
just a
the best-
sophomore, isn't he?
yeah,
Yeah.
Gershell's
But-
what
But I
Gershell
can't see Georgia doing that. I mean, Georgia's always good for that let-down loss that kills Mark Rick every year.
If Georgia does anything this year, I think a lot of people are basing that on the fact that Jeremy Pruitt's the defensive coordinator. They're actually going to have a disciplined defense as opposed to that crap they've had where they give up 30 points a game and have to score 31 to win.
Well, and they're talking about the quarterback, Hunter Mason, how good he is. Well, they got beat with him at quarterback by Nebraska last year.
If you lose to Bo Pelini, a Bo Pelini coach team, you don't need to be in any kind of preseason poll.
And they had everybody back, too, except for Aaron Murray. So
I can't see that.
I think South Carolina has a better chance of winning it all than they do.
Yeah, they do. Well, I got South Carolina picked to win the East.
I do, too.
I don't know. And I'm a Dabo Sweeney fella. I'm pulling for him.
Well, since y'all two are going with Clemson, I'm going to go with Georgia just to stay with the SEC.
Okay.
Just so one of us, so we can get completely ripped about it. But I think Clemson has a good chance of winning.
If Georgia wins, I'm going to come back and say, hey, I picked Georgia. But
Well,
I told y'all.
I think that game's up in the air, though,
Yeah.
because that's becoming a rivalry, and they're going to – it's going to be a good ball game.
And that series, too, I think the home team or the visiting team usually has success. And last year, since Georgia beat them at Clemson,
But it would surprise me
Yeah.
if Clemson don't come down here and take them in between the hedges.
Well, the other game I'm going to go with is, and I don't really think it's an upset since Braxton Miller's hurt, but I think Navy's going to beat Ohio State.
that game will be
we
close.
haven't got to that yet. Yes. Well, I've got
The
a lot
Navy
of-
midshipmen are going to. I mean, I know they said that J.T. Barrett has had over 300 snaps with the actual first-team offense at
That don't mean nothing.
Ohio State.
Yeah.
You still got to stop that option attack of
And
Navy.
And they've got a bunch of big boys, and they're going to pound you.
I can't get over the fact that Navy's having to pay them to come play them. $833,000. Navy's having to pay Ohio State.
I'd make Ohio State pay.
We spent too
Well,
much
I-
money in our national defense. Why are we giving them $833,000 to play a bunch of yokels?
I guess it's going to be heart pills for Irvin this year. I don't know.
Well, I tell you, that's a game I'd like
I think
to
it's
see
going to be
Navy
close,
win.
but I think Navy, and it's in Baltimore.
Well, I like
so-
that, yeah.
I actually think Navy's got a good chance of winning that ball game.
Well, I think everybody that plays Ohio State this year has got a good chance of beating
I do
them
too.
now.
That Rutgers game is not a
I
gimme
know
anymore.
it. I know it. Oh, and it just, I mean, like we said last week, though, I hate for a boy to get hurt. But at the same time, though, I mean, that's part of football. And now I've always been anti-Ohio State anyway, so I don't like anybody from that conference except Michigan State and Wisconsin.
Another game that's kind of got iffy to me is, and I think Andy mentioned it way earlier, back in maybe March or something, but that Tennessee-Utah State game.
Hey, I tell you.
That's not going to be a pushover for. I mean, you think Utah State? Oh, that's a gimme. No, Utah State's returning a lot of players on from a pretty good team from last year.
Exactly, and we're gonna see what Tennessee's made of.
You'll be hearing a lot more about Utah State's quarterback after that game's over. I promise
bet.
you.
Yes.
He was pretty good last year, and he's back for his senior season, and it's not going to be just a.
And Tennessee's
pushover.
like maybe a year away. I mean,
I'm thinking so too.
I'm gonna say Tennessee wins the game 20-17.
I think it's going to
It'll
be
by
close
a
either
field
way.
goal.
It's in Neyland Stadium, so
ooh, that's a tough place to play.
but
no matter.
still,
Well, and Oregon came down there, and I think Tennessee took the lead, didn't they, and didn't score again.
yeah, when they wind up getting beat like 52-14 or something like that.
That was during the Dooley era, though, wasn't it?
Yeah. Or was that the Kiffin era? I don't remember.
Well, it might have been during the Kiffin era because it was probably set up. Because Kiffin being a California boy, I don't know. It might have been set up. I'm gonna find that out though.
I can't really think of any other games that might be a huge upset that weekend, but
This is not an upset I'm talking about, but I was just looking at the schedule. I think Baylor will probably, and this is just kind of a statistical thing more than anything else, I think of all the teams, I think Baylor will score the most points this weekend.
who they play?
SMU.
You're not giving June Jones any credit.
Something about Art Briles I've always liked. His interviews, and plus there's I don't know if people are familiar with the story. There was when he played college football at I forgot where he played college football at. And I want to say it's Baylor, but I'm not sure. But his parents were traveling to the game to see him, and they were killed in a car wreck.
Ooh.
On the way to the game. If I get the story right, but they didn't say anything to him till after the game. Because he kept because I remember he kept looking in the stands because he knew where the tickets were going to be, and he kept looking and never did see them and wondered what happened. And he ended up was being told after the game they were killed in a car wreck.
Wow, God.
And plus, I've heard his interviews on TV and radio several. And if there's any coach that this new high passing spread offense, I think he's probably the. I don't know, something tells me of course it's Baylor. I mean, look what he's done at Baylor. I mean, they didn't have anything before he got there.
Yeah.
So if another major job opens, I mean, I know that's kind of where he's from, but I'm surprised he didn't take that Texas job.
Well, they didn't offer it to anybody but Charlie Strong. Remember?
Well, there was some boosters that were wanting Art Briles to get a phone call, but the committee didn't. They kind of ex-nayed that and made the first call to Charlie Strong.
Well, I ain't heard anything about Charlie Strong here lately. He hadn't made any.
He ain't kicked anybody off the team this week.
Yeah, and he hadn't made any more outlandish comments to his boosters.
He's
too busy getting practice and trying to make sure he doesn't live up to those statements he made about Texas not being any good.
Yeah, when they go 6-6, they're a 6-6 team this year.
But at the same time, some of these coaches, some of these older school coaches, like Bear Bryant, Lou Holtz, they used to downplay everything. They'd say, "We're so sorry right now, we can't even play against the junior."
Oh, I know it. Yes.
And I'm wondering if this is his way of kind of doing that, kind of downplaying, setting expectation for 6-6 or 7-5, and if they go 9-3, he's built up that much more.
Another game I was just looking at, and I forgot about it, is Michigan. They play Appalachian State first week.
Oh, and that was another
7-year anniversary of the upset.
Is it 7 years?
It was 2007.
So
wow.
Could it be another one?
If it is 2 minutes.
We both got Michigan going 6-6, don't we, Rob?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If that happens, I know the moving company 2 Men in a Truck will be looking for 2 men in a job.
Well, Texas plays North Texas.
Sure, I tell you,
first week.
That wouldn't surprise me right there, because I mean, this first week, some strange stuff. There's going to be some upsets, though.
Yeah.
I mean, there will be. There'll be some shockers. There'll be teams will find out what they got, what they're made of.
Well, since y'all are Alabama fans, I'll ask y'all first, and then I'll give them my pick. But if Alabama loses a game this year, when's their first loss?
don't know. I can't see them losing a game. I mean, I know it's possible, but I mean, I can't pick a team. I mean, you got LSU, you got Auburn, but I don't think anybody else could do it to us, and I don't think LSU could with their new backfield. But I mean, I like going into the season thinking that we're going to beat everybody.
Well, I know it's not going to be Auburn, but anyway, that was a snide comment. I was waiting for
I'm waiting for you to get through.
I mean, I was watching ESPN, the little pundits the other night. They had them losing to Ole Miss. I don't see them losing to Ole Miss.
Just because it was at Ole Miss.
Yeah, talent-wise. Now, that's going to be speaking of Ole Miss, that's going to be the biggest game in their history because game day's already selected.
Yeah.
They're going to be there. From a talent standpoint and an atmosphere, I know traditionally Alabama always does well at LSU, but if Jacob Coker, especially Blake Sims, because he has a tendency to kind of panic sometimes if he can handle the crowd down there, it remains to be seen. But if I'm a fan, I would rather us lose much earlier than later if we have to lose a game, because if we lose to Ole Miss, there's a lot more time to get back into that top 4.
Yes, it's easier to get back in.
Where LSU's kind of towards like the back 3 or 4 games of the season.
It would kill you. You lose that game.
And the way I feel like the committee's going to be kind of have a bias against the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
If we lose to LSU, I think they may kind of put us back so far to the point we're going to have to blow out everybody we play. To me, I've always said before the season we're going to have to go undefeated because our schedule is not the strongest. We're going to have to go undefeated and win the SEC to be considered for that top 4. And maybe if we have one loss, if it's like to LSU, and I hate to say either Auburn or the SEC championship game, that might be the only thing that we would avoid.
Well, all the analysts on the SEC network, have you been watching that this week?
Oh yeah,
They're picking Tennessee to beat Alabama. That's their pick.
Oh, that's Colin Cowherd. His pick.
Yeah, but who's the guy from Georgia? The
Stitchcomb.
Yeah, he picked Tennessee to beat Alabama just because it's at Neyland Stadium, and Tennessee's going to have all these games under their belt this year.
He's just hoping to see a Tennessee win because he's never beat Tennessee when he played at Georgia.
Yeah, I can't see Tennessee doing that, and we love going to Neyland Stadium.
I don't see Alabama losing until they play Auburn, and the only reason I'm picking Auburn is because their offense is basically all of them are back. And so they're going to score, and I think their defense may be just a little bit better just because Jake Holland's gone. He's not, and their backups now are better than Jake Holland was as a starter. And so, if Blake Sims or Jacob Coker can, throw the ball, just manage the game, I think it'll be a close game. But I think they both come into that game undefeated.
But you forgot one of the rules of college football. Very, 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 very rarely does Nick Saban lose to the same team 2 times in a row.
Till this year?
Wow.
But we haven't done it yet, though. So we'll have to wait and see. But I can very well see both teams going in there undefeated.
Oh, yeah.
And with Auburn.
Because Auburn get by Kansas State, I think they're going to have their season's going to start blooming.
I do, too.
Right
I think they'll beat Kansas State. The only game, if I had to pick a game that I thought they would lose, it's South Carolina's who I'm going to pick.
Well, you always got to worry
or
about
Alabama at
Steve.
the end. But, those 2 games are going to be – but I think with that South Carolina game being in the middle of October, with that October schedule, not just Auburn, but all the SEC teams, you want to see an October schedule.
You're
go
not
look
kidding.
At
No kidding.
That South Carolina game's right in the middle.
Well, and you just mentioned South Carolina and Alabama, and those are 2 great coach teams.
Yeah.
I mean, Steve Spurrier, he's liable to do anything at any time. I mean, if we were playing them this year, you always got to have a little question mark with Steve Spurrier, because I know a few years ago, 2010, we went up there and we were supposed to beat them, and they routed us.
Well, that stretch.
Steven Garcia had the game of his life.
Yeah.
He's never. That's the only thing he's.
Yeah, that's his thing. He can wake up and say, "Oh, I did that, but I didn't do anything else."
Well, that actually starts Auburn's biggest run, I guess. Well, no, it doesn't really get any better, but they play Kansas State, Louisiana Tech, LSU, Mississippi State, and then they're open. Then they have South Carolina. So, but they don't have another open week at all. They play South Carolina, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Georgia, Samford and Alabama.
So Auburn doesn't get 2 off weeks,
They have one second week. They play or third week. They play Arkansas, San Jose State,
and then they have an off Saturday because that's the week they play Kansas State.
On Thursday night.
Uh-huh.
And then I don't know. I still got a feeling they lose to Kansas State before they do South Carolina. I don't know. Just something about the atmosphere out there in Manhattan, Kansas. My wife's been to a couple of games out there because one of her best friends is a Kansas State graduate, and before she went out there to watch them play. And it's September. Believe it or not, the weather out there gets a lot cooler out there before it does out here.
One of the comments I heard this week just blew my mind was that they said that Auburn's not used to playing in front of that many hostile fans.
Oh my gosh!
Their stadium holds 45,000 people. I mean, at home they'll have more. They play in front of 85,000 at home, and they went to LSU last year, which is nearly 100,000.
Yes, uh-huh.
And I don't know if Brody even said that's the most hostile place he's ever been in. And almost beat them.
They could go to Stark Vegas, and there's a more hostile crowd.
Yeah, or they beat Texas A&M at Texas A&M last year.
So I mean, 45,000 people. That's like a bad 8-day game.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like it raining and 45,000 make it to an 8-day game at Auburn. Or
The only thing I can figure out is the crowd. That all the women out there look like Andy. No offense, Andy.
Oh.
Or me, for that matter.
Or me.
Yeah. Have you ever seen me in a dress?
Not lately.
Well, they say I look pretty good.
Oh, my gosh. We'll be back in just a minute.